See what kind of trouble we can get into today. Okay. So, finding yourself seated comfortably. Mm, Close your eyes. Relax your shoulders. Relax your arms. You want to feel like your spine is growing up towards the sky and everything else is kind of hanging off of it. And see if you can actually sense the muscles that are closest to your cervical spine. So up in your neck, right next to the vertebrae, sense into those muscles that are right snug up against it. And just set the intention that they relax. If you can start to feel those muscles just melting the tension away. Visualize that tension leaving the body. Every exhale, just letting a little more tension go. And then bring your awareness down to the vertebrae below that are kind of between the neck and the shoulder blades. So it's just like two of them. But bring your awareness right there, kind of right across, right below or right behind um your voice box, really. Just softening through there. Coming down between your shoulder blades, all the vertebrae between the shoulder blades, imagining all the muscles that hug up to and connect in there, all those connection points into the vertebrae, visualizing them softening. And then go a little lower, kind of to the space right where your bra strap comes across. So right below the shoulder blades, maybe just like 10 centimeters, 4 inches. Again, just feeling into all the little attachments that come into the spine there. Just asking those muscles to soften. And lowering down to just kind of the bottom 4 inches, 10 centimeters of ribs and the back body, the spine there, mid back. You can really feel that when you inhale, and that expansiveness through the bottom of the rib cage. You can usually feel right into that area. And then lowering down to the space below the ribs, so between the ribs and above the pelvis. And this is where our psoas, our hip flexors, attach. And those hip flexors attach up along these spinal processes, but they also, then the hip flexor comes down and hugs under all your internal organs along the backside of your pelvis, and then hooks in right on like in under the thighs on the inside of the thigh bones, of the hip bones. So it's a really complex muscle that gets worked on our lower end, with internal external rotation affecting it, forward folding, back bending, and then it's hugged under all of our internal organs, and then it attaches all along the lumbar spine. So an important area to bring your awareness to and see if you can soften all those attachment sites, and see if that also doesn't offer a little relief through the back of the pelvis and into your hips. All right, so we're going to keep that intention of all those little attachment sites along the spine softening and draining. So I want you just to think about like two waterfalls running along each side of your spine, just cleansing all the tension from the spine all the way down and out through the bottom of the pelvis and into the earth as we move into a hip opener. So we're going to come into straddle, opening up. Ooh, my poor legs are so tired. I had no intention of doing this pose today, but my body was like, this is where we need to start class. So this is where we're starting class. So just so you know, especially because this is going to be a yin pose, we're going to hold this for a little bit of time. If you tend to have tension through the backs of the knees or the inner knees, you can always roll up something like a sock is usually really nice, or a washcloth, just something kind of small, eye pillow, and put that under the back of the knee, and that's going to be really like totally change the whole pose for you. If you're finding that the low back and the hamstrings are really restricted here and it causes you to round, there's two options. You can scoot yourself up into something that's going to force you to sit up really tall, or especially in a yin aspect, because we're going to be here for a while, you can come into legs up the wall. So find a wall of some sort or flat surface. Scoot your butt into it and then open up into a straddle there. Okay, so those are two supportive options when you've got a lot of tension through the hamstrings and the low back. You can also lift your hips up on something, which I'm going to go grab my cushion and do that for my body today. You just give yourself a little bit of height. You use a rolled up blanket, a meditation cushion. And if everything feels all happy, And you want to start coming forward. You would tip the body forward, trying to keep a flat back to start, so keeping the spine really long. And then when it feels like you just can't go any further without rounding, take a deep breath in and really expand through the head and then melt. So we lengthen the spine before we melt down. And then you've got options if you've got a bolster or something like that, blocks. Support yourself wherever you need to. And we are going to be here for a couple minutes. Once you get settled in the pose and you feel supported, everything feels great. Then you want to bring the awareness back to those little waterfalls along the spine. Just along the spine, melting all of that tension away, right out into the floor and into the earth. And also notice where else you are holding unnecessary tension. So you'll typically find that in your jaw, your forehead, shoulders, hands, feet. You want to feel into your body and notice if it feels like you can go a little deeper. If you need to make an adjustment to go deeper, but also if you need to make an adjustment to back out a little bit. Because when we are in these longer held poses, sometimes we kind of reach an edge in a different way, and our body needs us to back out. So also honor that. Gently bringing yourself upright if you folded forwards. If you're on your back with legs up the wall, you're going to want to just gently bring the legs together and then drop the knees to your chest and then roll on over, bringing yourself back to seated. And then we're going to pull these legs in if you are seated in the straddle. We're going to come into square pose. So left leg is going to be on the bottom. You're going to flex your foot. That's going to protect the knee. And you want your heel lining up with your shoulder and your knee lining up with your shoulder. And your shin is like parallel to the edge of your mat. So it's flat across. And then the other heel is going to come up on top of the other knee. So when you look down, you cannot see the bottom leg because the top leg is right on top of it, okay? So if you're looking down and you can kind of see that ankle, that means that the foot's back towards the hip. You need to get it right out and under the knee. Now, you may or may not need support here. The knees, if they're lifted, it doesn't necessarily mean that you need support. It's just if there's discomfort. So again, it's really important to keep the feet flexed because when you soften that foot, you are making the ankle real unhappy, but you're also going further up the chain into the knee and it's twisting in the knee. So while again, we are going to do both sides of this in the yin variation, you want to keep the feet flexed and active through the whole thing. If it's not feeling good in those knees with the feet flexed, you've always got things that you can support yourself with if you need to. And again, we're working on just sitting up really tall. So if you're finding that challenging in the low back, go ahead and scoot yourself back into a wall. If just sitting up nice and tall feels like, yeah, that's enough. That's plenty in the hips. You'll stay right here. If it feels like you want to go further forward or deeper, you will come forward. And I want you to have the arms wide if you're coming forward to encourage the chest to stay open so that we don't kind of go into this little curled up ball position. We're really keeping the chest open, tipping forward as far as is comfortable. And this can be quite an intense pose. So coming back to the breath and really using your exhale to soften. Every exhale, it's like relax. Inhale, relax. Inhale, relax. Over and over and over. We are just cueing the body to relax, to soften, to release. And see if you can kind of extend that visualization of the softening extend that up into your actual brain, like to your brain matter. Just imagining all of the brain matter relaxing. And really what that is we've got a lot of fascia and tissue surrounding the brain, which can tighten up. And that's oftentimes when we're really doing a lot of thinking or we're holding a lot of stress. It will actually almost like squeeze the brain. So by thinking about softening the brain matter, that radiates out into that tissue and gets that to soften. And then the brain can take a deep breath because the bones of our skull expand and contract with what's called primal breath. We have an actual expansion and contraction that happens physically in our body that's not connected to our actual breath, but it's connected to a rhythm of the body. And that's where osteopathy and craniosacral therapy are born out of. So when we're really tight in our musculature around our head, we literally cannot think straight. So sitting here and just thinking, okay, inhale, exhale, relax, soften the scalp, soften all the muscles on top of the skull, soften the tissue between the skull and the brain, soften the brain. We're gonna release that top leg out in front of us and then release the bottom leg. Take the feet a little wider than hip width. Grab hold of the tops of your thighs and rotate them in. This should feel really, really good. Oh. And we'll just swap sides. So right leg will be on the bottom, left leg will be on the top. Heel on top of knee, knee on top of heel. Again, if I look down, I cannot see the bottom leg. And we're not symmetrical. So this side might be super easy or it might be so much harder than the other. And you might feel pain here where you didn't feel it on the other side or vice versa. So support yourself however you need to. Find the wall if you need to. Maybe this side you come forward even though you didn't on the other side or vice versa. Again, we want the feet to be flexed. So feet stay active. And then finding where you want to be in the pose. So are you upright? Are you folded forward? Are you resting against a wall? And if you are coming forward, again, you want to take the hands wide so you keep the chest open. Relax your jaw. Get those little waterfalls along the spine, softening the tension away. And then start actively thinking to add the brain in there. Every exhale, just asking your body to soften a little bit more deeply. Notice if you're holding unnecessary tension somewhere, soften that. And then gently we'll release top leg first and the bottom leg. Extending the legs out, take them a little wider than hip width, and then rotate strongly in. Awesome. Okay. Let's come into a quick child's pose just to lengthen out that low back since we've been rotating around in there. And then I want to do this shoulder opener that I accidentally discovered the other day that I'm obsessed with. So just coming into child's pose for a moment. Okay, and then rolling up. You want to make sure you got some space on either side of you near your shoulders. And I just kind of discovered this rolling around on the floor the other day. It felt really good, so I just kind of hung out there, and then this sequence kind of came about. And I noticed that when I went into the deeper shoulder opener, which will be the third part of this sequence, that I had like way more range of motion than I had had forever. So you know how in between the shoulder blades, like right between the shoulders or the shoulder blade and the spine, it kind of can get really stuck. And that's where there's a lot of pain. And it just sometimes feels like, you know, you want to shove a hand under there, but it's really stuck. Like the shoulder blade is glued into the muscle and under it. So this gets in there. And because the shoulder blade gets more movement, then when we come into the chest opener aspect of the shoulder opener, it's going to like blow your mind, essentially. So let me just show it to you first so that you're not kind of like staring at your screen trying to figure out what the hell I'm doing. It's 3 parts. The first part is the part that opens up the shoulder blade. So what that'll be is you're going to have your hands shoulder height on the floor, elbows pointed toward the sky. You can have your forehead down or you can have an ear down. But what we're going to do is you'll bend one leg, you'll pick it up, and then you'll roll over, and that foot doesn't need to come to the ground. It might, it probably won't. So if I am working with like my left leg, my right ear would be down. And I want to make sure that this elbow stays up. So it doesn't come down here, it stays up. And I'm using my opposite arm to rotate me over. And I'm getting in between the spine and the shoulder blades. So we'll hang out here for a little bit. And then I'll have you roll back towards your belly, but pull the knee up alongside you. So we come into that sleeping baby position, and then you can drop into cactus arms, and we'll hang out here for a couple breaths, which is super nice for the pelvis.
And then from there, we extend the arm out and we roll over into this chest opening, shoulder opener. And I swear to God, it's like an amazing amount of difference that happens after that first shoulder opener. I don't know, my shoulders have never been the way they are this week after this. So yeah. Come on to your belly. Bring your hands shoulder height, elbows pointed up towards the sky. Okay. You're either going to have your forehead down or your right ear down. Either or. Bend the left leg. Lift the left knee up. Take that leg over like a scorpion. Keep the right elbow pointing towards the sky as you roll into that rib cage. And you'll feel this through your side body, and you'll also feel it on the inside of the shoulder blade. So I want you to focus and breathing. Really deep inhale, exhale right into the shoulder blades. Trying to get as much movement with the breath as possible. Really letting the ribs sink towards the floor so that you can melt into the whole shoulder blade. Roll yourself back center and bring your left knee out to the side, up along near the left hand, and then drop the arms down into cactus arms. Turn the head so your left ear comes down onto the mat. And you want to think about softening between the two front hip bones, softening through the low back, down into the pelvis. Then you're going to extend the right arm out, palm flat down, left hand comes in under the left shoulder. Turn your head to the left again, so right ear onto the mat. And that left leg is going to lengthen back and then come into that scorpion pose again. You roll yourself over onto your right side, walk your fingers away. This time the left leg will most likely come to the floor. And your left hand is actively rotating you around. So you're pushing into it to press into the right shoulder a little bit more. Rotate back onto your belly. Bring one hand on top of the other and then rest your forehead on top of your hands. And then we come to the other side. So coming up with the hands. Hands are shoulder height, elbows up towards the sky. Either forehead down or left ear down. You're going to bend the right knee, lift the right leg, and rotate yourself over. So leg is most likely going to be hanging out in the air. And we're using our right hand to rotate us a little bit more, sinking into that left shoulder joint, letting the ribs soften. Rotating back towards your belly, pulling that right knee up along side of you. Drop the arms into cactus. Turn the right ear down onto the mat. Relax through the sacrum, low back, back of the pelvis, between the hip bones. This is hands down my absolute favorite yoga pose. The only problem is I always want to fall asleep while I'm in it. Go ahead and lengthen the left arm out. Right hand under the right shoulder. Send that right knee back. And then we push into the right hand, walk the left fingertips away. So we rotate around, dropping the right foot to the floor. And that right hand stays on the mat, pressing you deeper into the pose. rotating back onto your belly. Bring one hand on top of the other, and then rest your forehead down on top of the hands. And then coming up into Sphinx. So elbows right and under the shoulders. And you can either have palms down, thumbs up, like relax into fist, or turn your palms up towards the ceiling, which is a really nice chest opening option. And just soften through the hips, the belly, and the low back. And walking the hands back. Take another child's pose. And then we're going to come around onto our backs for Shavasana. So if you need a blanket, grab that. Always have the option of legs at the wall if you've got a wall. That can be really lovely, especially if it's evening time where you are. As you get yourself settled in, taking a couple more rounds of breath, using that exhale to just imagine shaking out any tension that's being held in the body.
Deepening your breath. Bringing movement gently into your fingers and toes. Hands and feet. Ankles and wrists. Elbows and knees. Shoulders and hips. Carefully rolling over onto one side. Go ahead and press yourself all the way back up to seated. Closing your eyes again, feeling your spine reaching up towards the sky and everything else melting down away from it. Think of your head as that big puddle of relaxing water that's softening and then pouring down alongside each side of the spine. Cleansing away, washing away tension, calming the nervous system. And if there's anything else going on in your life right now that you'd like to shed, let go of, release, you can just toss that into these streams of water to be washed back to the earth. Bring your hands together at your heart, thanking yourself for getting on your mat today. And thank you for doing this with me. Namaste.